So we're looking at the comma rule for nominal clauses, and it's pretty easy. There are none. So it says a nominal clause cannot be removed from the sentence. It's essential to the sentence because basically what's happening is it's replacing one of the essential slots in the sentence pattern. You're removing the subject, for example. You're removing the direct object. You're removing the object preposition. You're removing something which is essential to the sentence. So therefore, we don't want to break it up with any commas at all. And what the author tells us at the end of chapter 2, very clearly, she says, never place a comma between any of the sentence slots. So I would never want to put a comma between a subject and a verb. So now that my subjects are starting to get more complicated, I don't want to fall back on that rule and forgetting that small fact. We've learned that with gerunds and also with infinitives as well. So the same thing happens with noun clauses. So we're really only learning 2 comma rules for this entire unit. And I want to recap the first one you already know. I don't like this orange. I like orange. I just don't like the orange highlighter. So the first one is this. Anytime we have a non-essential appositive, remember it's an appositive that you don't need. So if I say Mr. Marsh, an elitist grammarian, enjoys correcting his colleagues under his breath. Well, yeah, there's more than one Mr. Marsh in the world, but I'm very specific in our school. So for that reason, this is a positive which is not essential to the sentence, and that's why we get commas in there. Here's our new rule. Noun clauses never get commas. The only exception is a direct quote. So a direct quote is actually a noun clause. If I said, Mr. Marsh says, learning grammar will score you dates. Really what you're saying is Mr. Marsh says that learning grammar will score you dates, except we just cut out that word that. But what you've done is you've created a noun or a nominal clause. It's a direct object. You just simply cut out that expletive word that. And that's the only time you actually will use a comma with a noun clause. Look at that. All right. So kind of recap some things, because this is sometimes what we have to wrap our head around, is particularly when it starts the sentence, people feel like they need to put a comma in. And I want you to be students of grammar who realize that would be incorrect and be okay with correcting people with this. So 2 of our previous examples. Whoever ate the last brown sugar and cinnamon Pop-Tart owes me an apology. No comma. I know you take a breath there. I know it's a really long introductory part of the sentence, but that's basically the subject, and you would never separate your subject from your verb. So therefore, no comma here. If I said that you bought your college degree on the dark web, does not surprise me. I know it's a really long introductory subject, but we never separate our subject from our verb. No comma. Here's another one. Even when the 2 verbs are the same and it sounds like you're repeating yourself, don't lose sight of what you're doing grammatically. If I said, what my problem to you is the valuable knowledge of grammar. I'm a good talker. And here is your noun clause. My promise to you is what your noun clause would be. This is your subject going into this verb. And people get really weirded out by having 2 verbs that are the same, but you don't put a comma there. It's just a subject going into a verb. No comma in any of these. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to take on this next part, which is where we're going to take these sentences and we're going to identify the nominal clause by underlining it. I'm going to pause my video and then I'm going to go through the answers with you, or you can check the answers on the answer key that's posted. All right. I'm going to sneeze. God bless me. And let's take a look at our answers. So if you've already done it, good for you. If you just want to follow along with me, good for you as well. Let's change this over to yellow. Officer Covey asked Austin and Eli, and then here's our noun clause. Listen to where it is, where they were heading with those suspicious 5-gallon buckets of pudding. Sweet. All right. No pun intended. Next one. Pathetically, Mr. Marsh always tries to show, and then here's our noun clause. Once again, you're going to listen for where it starts, the word where. Here's the word that. That's where it's got to start. That's your starting point. So Mr. Marsh always tries to show that mastering grammar is essential to our lives. Here's the next one. Seneca once said, ooh, now I've cut out that word that, but here's where your noun clause would be. All cruelty springs from weakness. Seneca, you so smart. Number 4, Alani couldn't understand how Cooper seemed oblivious to Mr. Marsh's bologna smell. Alani, that is not nice at all. Here's this word how is where it's going to begin, and we'd say how Cooper seemed oblivious to Mr. Marsh's bologna smell. Number 5, Mr. Cantrell has promised to give, here it is, whoever. So you're going to notice this trend where a lot of these noun clauses sort of start and off they roll, but sometimes they're going to stop midway in the sentence. And that's what's going to happen with number 5. Mr. Cantrell has promised to give what? He's giving a prize basket of Bob Ross stickers and assorted meat sticks. To whom? To whoever aces his killer Renaissance art test. The noun clause stops there. That's tricky. So Mr. Cantrell is actually giving a basket of stickers and meat sticks to, and then here's your noun clause, whoever aces his killer Renaissance art test. Number 6, why is where it's going to start. Why you wore that shirt with those pants is baffling to me. What I like about number 6 is it starts off with the word why. It's the beginning of the sentence, which sometimes is a little tricky, but also I threw in the word that. I want you to remember not every that is going to be the expletive that. Sometimes the word that is just a demonstrative pronoun, like this, that, these, and those. And you'll know that because you usually can take out the word that. And I couldn't say, why you wore a shirt with those pants. It just sounds weird. So this is not a clause with the word that. The clause starts with the word why. All right, so that's a tricky one. Number 7, we all wondered if, is where it's going to begin, and listen to where it ends, if Mr. Achille enjoys making our lives miserable with his impossible math problems. It goes all the way to the end. And lastly, number 8, Fox News is reporting that, there it is, that there will be another toilet paper shortage this spring. Oh, heaven help us. All right, so now we are practicing identifying them. Noticing the trend always starts with the interrogative or the expletive, and then it has a subject and a verb. Now we're going to get into just simply just drilling ourselves through diagramming. All right, so I'm going to start working my way through and giving you some examples, or you can do it on your own and check out the answer key. Giddy up.